Hello, your professor asked me to explain to you guys how I made the yellow highlighting on this graphic. So if you look, this is in After Effects. It kind of draws right on. But before we do that, let's talk about how we built this graphic. I don't know how much you guys know about video, but this is a 1920 by 1080 video frame. So it's 1,920 pixels this way and 1,080 pixels this way. And what happens is, if you have a 1920 by 1080 frame and a 1920 by 1080 picture, and you start to rotate it around, you're going to shoot off the picture. You're going to see the background, okay? So if you look at, if I can rotate it here, see my picture, you can rotate it way around and you don't shoot off that background. So I thought about this a little more and I decided to make a comp to explain this concept to you. So this is a 1920 by 1080 composition, and the background color is green. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new solid, and we're going to make this solid, I don't know, blue, right? So this is solids 1920 by 1080. All right, so now the blue is on top of the green. I'm going to turn it to 3D, and watch what happens when I rotate a 19 by 20 solid in a 19 by 20 comp, right? We see the edge. We see the background green because this frame is 1920 by 1080 in a 1920 by 1080 comp. All right, I'm going to hide this layer. Let's make a new one. We'll make this solid rojo. All right, where's red? There's red, and I'm going to make it 3840 by 2160, which is twice the size of a 19 by 20 1080 frame. And this is red. I'm going to turn it 3D and watch what happens when I rotate the red. Oops. Like I said, watch what happens when I rotate the red. All right, I'm rotating it. You can see the numbers move here, but I can really rotate that a lot. Let's do this. I can really rotate that a lot before I see the background. Here, this should be green right there, right? That's almost 90 degrees. And I'm able to get a lot more rotation because my object is twice as big as my frame. So how did I do that? Let's take a look here in Photoshop. This is the actual screen cap I took from the website. And I didn't get the masthead of the website, the Chalkbeat masthead. I just grabbed this part, and you'll see why in a second. So in the old days, they would have this thing called a newspaper, and it's exactly what it sounded like. It would come to your house, and it was a piece of paper, and it had news on it. And a 12-year-old would deliver it to you in the morning or in the afternoon. And a newspaper looks great on television. You didn't see ads in a newspaper on the same pages as news. Usually it was news, and then the ads were later on in the newspaper. But with the website now, it's designed to be seen on your phone, and it's designed to be seen in a computer screen, and they jam all kinds of stuff onto this website, which doesn't really lend itself well for television, okay? The first problem is we've got these ads here, and obviously they'll have to come out. And the second problem is there's no masthead, and the reason why I did it is because I just did a straight screen cap, and I wanted to get the biggest resolution I could so the type wouldn't fall apart when I blew it up in After Effects. So what I did was I made a document that looked like this. Now this image is, let's see, image size. It's 384 by 2160, which is Ultra HD, which is twice the size of the HD frame. So when I put a Ultra HD frame in an HD frame, I have a lot more room to move around. Matter of fact, I have twice as much. So if we look down here, I think it was this box here. There. Yeah, to there. So it's this box. I believe it was this box. Pretty much everything in there is going to be in my television frame. That's 1920 by 80, roughly. I forgot exactly how I did it. This whole thing is 384 by 2160, all right? So in After Effects, I will be able to move around this giant frame and not shoot off the sides of it. I did a few other things here as well. So this is my first layer. All right, the first problem with this is, look how the type is right here. You've got a lot of white space here with no type at all right here. Not good for a graphic you're going to see on television. It's fine for the internet or for your phone. It really doesn't matter. But when you are putting a graphic together for television, you really want it to take advantage of as much spacing as you can. So the very first thing I did was I rekerned the type. Can I blow up this thing? Let's see. I rekerned the type, right? There's a lot less white space right there. And you'll see why I did that in a minute. And I've also got, you know, the byline and the Twitter, Facebook republished graphic there as well. The next thing I did was I put the masthead on, all right? So what I did was I just took a plain old masthead from the website, but I extended it. Look how far it goes to the left. Look how far it goes to the right. This is because when we put it in After Effects and we start spinning it around, I don't want to shoot off the side of that graphic. I've extended that graphic. And the last thing I did was I put the picture back in of the mayor. Is this Newark? Yes, the mayor of Newark here in this little video. There was a lot of Photoshop prep that went into this graphic. We had to get the masthead right. We had to get the text rekerned. We had to center up the mayor here. Now it's ready to go in After Effects, all right? And if you look, I've got a layer for the I've got a layer for the mayor, and I've got a layer for the masthead. Okay, why did I do that? Let's look at After Effects. So I'm going to turn off the lights so we can see it a little better. Okay, so here we are in After Effects. And again, I don't know how much you guys know about compositing. How can I put this on one page? All right. Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. Bear with me, kids. All right. You know what? I can do it like this. Ugly but effective. All right. So, there it is. We've got the logo. I added this Chalkbeat logo in here for a couple reasons. Number one, there was a lot of white space here, and it looked weird. There was just nothing there. And number two, I wanted the audience to make sure that they knew that this was a Chalkbeat article. And then we've got the mayor here. He's on layer 4. And then we've got the masthead on another layer. See? Off and on. Now these, if we look at them, they are all in different Z depths. So this is an older version. I'm gonna change the Z depth on this to -400. What that means is they're stacked differently. So again, I don't know how technical you are, but Z depths means how these are stacked in the 3D hierarchy. So the logo is in the front. Behind the logo is the mayor, and behind the mayor is the masthead. I've got null 27. Null 27 is controlling all of our layers, all right? And if I rotate that around, you can see what happens, right? You get this really cool, this is called a parallax effect. You get this really cool effect because the graphics are all on different 3D planes, all right? And if we look what happens, watch what happens to the Chalkbeat logo as it crawls through, right? It appears to move, but it's moving differently than the type. The Chalkbeat logo starts with the word on here, and then when the graphic resolves, it's all the way over to families. The same thing is happening, but to a much less extent on the picture of the mayor here. Watch where it starts. It's kind of lined up with this little line here. It goes over to here. See where it ends up here. This is called parallax. It makes things interesting when you have a still graphic, okay? Now, the whole crux of this was to know how you put the highlight on. The reason why I did the highlight is even though I deleted all the advertising, I kind of basically cropped out the masthead here, right? I did put this here, so it's another thing to look at. But what I really want the audience to notice and read and absorb the information is the headline here, all right? Because we're talking about how when the mayor of Newark had a tough decision during COVID, okay? They're talking about how the mayor had to shut things down. Do we open? Do we close? It was difficult, right? That's what I need the audience to understand. Easiest way to do that is with a highlight like this. And it's very, very simple to make. So I've got layer 5, which I do believe is the back plate. Yes. Layer 5 is this type. Can I solo it? Yes, I can. Layer 5 is the background. Remember what it looked like in Photoshop? It's just this. Okay, it's just type on a white background. It's 4K. It's this giant background. And in After Effects, what I've done is I made a piece of yellow and I did a multiply key. You can do different kind of blending modes here, just like you can in Photoshop. I used to edit political spots for political campaigns, and I have made about 78 billion highlights effects like this for political spots, right? It's just a piece of yellow, like a yellow highlighter, and you do a multiply key. Now, what multiply does is it kind of makes it translucent and glowy. And if you have the correct colors, it looks like a highlighter on a piece of paper. So multiply is the secret sauce that makes this happen. And all this is wiping on is a mask path, right? So you started at keyframe 1, which is right here, which happens to be the first frame of our graphic. And you take the 2 little boxes at the end and you stretch those out to keyframe 2, which is right here, right? It's just these boxes. Oh, now I've done it. I've just taken these out. If you hold the shift key, it'll kind of do it straight. If you let go of the shift key, it goes all around like this. So I just moved them out as far as you want, right? And the beautiful thing about After Effects is once I've done one, I named it the top bar, right? I just copied and pasted it and renamed it bottom bar, right? Same keyframes, same position. Here it's going to wipe on. All I did was move it down a little bit. Where is it? Come here, you. So it was here when I copied and pasted it. So all I did was slide down the graphic and just adjusted where the keyframe started. There, and then it's going to end there. Right? So it's just an easy 2 keyframe move. All I did for the second graphic was have these 2 little bars end right here. All right, so when we play the whole thing, there it goes. Let's take all this stuff off. So this is what the highlight looks like when it's all done, right? Is our highlight wipes on, and because I've parented it to the background, and the background, which is parented to the master layer, everything moves in sync with everything else. And there was one more thing I did. We have a light source here and some blurring on the corners. Again, that light source draws the audience's eye to this headline. And the blur effect does the same thing. I don't want people reading up here. I don't want people looking at the guy's face, okay? What I want is right here. So in After Effects, I'm going to turn the light back on. There's our light source, right? We get some nice shading around here. And to get the blur, all I did was an adjustment layer. And the adjustment layer is blurry, but it's got a mask. Everything below this layer gets blurred, and I have a mask in the middle. So the middle part right here isn't going to get blurred because I want the audience to read this headline. So if you look at the finish here, right, we've got blurring up here. It's not in your face. It's subtle, but it's blurring up here. It's blurring all the way around here, all the way down here. It's blurring over here. You can see in newsletters up here, it's blurring. And the text is brightly lit, and it's got yellow coming through it. So, and it's also with the move is making the text, it should land level, all right? I have done everything I possibly can as a graphic artist to figure out how to get the audience to look at this graphic. So I'll play it again. It didn't level out completely, that's okay. But we've got our highlighted text here, which I had to rekern. I've got the Chalkbeat logo to reinforce to the audience that this is the Chalkbeat website. We can see that it's a website, but up here it's blurred and darkened. Down here it's blurred and darkened. Over here it's blurred and darkened as well. And the audience, their eye is really going to be drawn to this, which is what's going to further the story. So he came an awful long way from here. Right? Rekerned, lose these things, rearrange these things to get to here. Awful lot of work. Newspapers are a lot easier to work with. They have a natural texture to them. There's not a lot of ads, where there's not supposed to be ads, and they look great on videos, but it's getting harder and harder to find the newspaper headlines that you need for a particular story, and getting the story off the website's very easy. Unfortunately, websites aren't formatted for television viewing, and you have to do an awful lot of work to clean them up. This job had, let's see, these are all of the headlines I had to clean up. I'd probably guess there was about 20, 25 headlines I had to clean up, maybe 30 headlines I had to clean up. It's kind of a time-consuming job. Usually, if you're working someplace, you'll have an After Effects artist and a graphic artist along with your editor. For this particular job, I had to do both. That's fine, but it does take a while to do this. So keep that in mind when you're working against a deadline. I hope you guys found this helpful. And, if you still have any more questions, let me know. But it's a very simple effect. Multiply and mask, and then just animate the mask. Okay? All right, kids. Keep studying.